Welcome to the latest episode of the Target Practice Podcast with Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. This show is for insurance agents who are ready to earn more target premium by growing their practices. In addition, Charlie and Bobby will share strategies on how you can elevate your business and provide an exceptional customer experience. Now here are your hosts, Charlie and Bobby.
Welcome everybody to the Target Practice Podcast. I'm Bobby Alford, this is Charlie Jewett, and today's episode is how to take applications like a champ. This is one place where you can differentiate yourself from your competition. We're going to give you some of our lessons learned, some of our best practices, but everyone in this industry takes applications. How can you differentiate yourself from your competition? By making this part of the process. It's really not hard to excel in this part of the process, but by differentiating yourself here, the referrals later on come in like crazy. So we're going to start with a few of our lessons learned, and then Charlie's going to walk us through kind of his commentary on it. But we're going to start off with making the application process a description ahead of time so they know what to expect. You want to lead off with that, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, the next two episodes, this one and the next one, are really like super simple things you can do. I don't want to say easy because like I didn't do them for years because they take discipline and things like that, but very simple. Like exercise is simple, you know? It's simple to love another human being. How could I help you today? What would you like from me? Like not be selfish, right? And then it ends up being more difficult. But these are two things, these next two episodes are two things, two areas of the business where you can set yourself apart and really like double, triple, quadruple the level of the happiness level, if there's such a thing, create raving fans instead of satisfied customers and get more referrals and things like that. We talked a little bit about the psychology of if you don't make promises and keep them, and someone says, well, tell me about your financial advisor, someone's going to go, well, she's nice, he's nice. They don't have any words to describe you. You want to give them those words. So part of what we're starting to teach you here is make promises on purpose by telling them what you're going to do and then do it every time on time so that when somebody says, tell me about your person, you say, they always do what they say. I always know where I'm at and they always do it. They're a promise keeper, right? So in this episode, we're going to talk about taking the applications. Why? Because you can't get around this. I mean, this is the goal. This is the goal of the sale. You know, the sales process, which we call the art of comparison, all of your marketing, all of your selling, all of your, however you prepare for your sales meetings, whether it's creating cases, doing case design, or whether you already have a lead that's moved into the market and whatever, or you're trying to get them to leave the market, however you do that, the goal is to get them to this point. We don't want to drop the ball here. You don't want it to be a great experience until they say yes, and then before you get paid, it goes down. And that's the norm, because this is not, it's like selling a root canal. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. I want the results. Okay, open your mouth. Let me hurt you. You know what I mean? Like it's just not, you got to make it tolerable at least. So we're going to talk about there's more. You can get really crazy like this. There's more to do. We're going to talk about some of the basics that are easy, simple. You can apply them right away. You may not have thought of them, right?
And I think to what you just said, I think this is simple, but it is not easy. Like I know that if I eat less calories and I do more sit-ups, I'll get a six-pack. But it's very simple. It's not easy. And that's what we're talking about here. And these are the basics, right? These are do what you say you're going to do, and that will exceed the client's expectations because most people don't do that. And we're talking about very low-hanging fruit. But we're going to give you some best practices that we use. And we have taken this as we've basically systematized this because we as agents are not great at it. So we have found people that fit in our company that are great at it. They make the customer experience memorable. And like you said, if you know my financial advisor is great, they take me to play golf once a year, or they remember my anniversary, but they suck at doing paperwork, or but they never really communicate well. All that anybody's going to hear is after the but. We'll talk about that in phrasing and stuff later on in the episodes, but this comes down to...
It's a great title. Is that going to be episode 25, After the But?
After the But.
Welcome to After the Butt with Bobby and Charlie.
So we have learned two big things. Number one, now that everybody is on Zoom, Zoom really helps establish that connection and makes this process more tolerable. Number one. Charlie and I were talking about this before the episode. He didn't have Zoom when he was taking apps and getting started and doing all those things and grew in this industry. And he did a lot of these steps the same way, but pre-Zoom. I have taken most apps not in person. Actually, I've never taken one not over Zoom, but even if the person's down the street, Zoom seems to be the easiest way for me. But this is one of our best practices, right, Charlie? Doing it over Zoom for consistency and kind of spell check, if you will, right?
I had a client ask me the other day, we set up a meeting, and he's local, and he's like, where are we meeting? I'm like, Zoom? Where are we meeting? I don't want to go to a restaurant. I don't want to go to your house. Let's just meet by. It's such a normal thing now, right? And I forget that like you've it's like kids don't know what life is like without a cell phone. Bobby doesn't know what life is like without Zoom meetings. They didn't even exist. I was a weirdo. Like 10 years ago, I was doing everything by GoToMeeting, and I was sat in a room of the top 15 agents out of 6,000 at this IMO here locally. In Del Mar, California. I was part of the top 15, and someone says, you can't do financial services over the phone or over the internet. And the owner pointed to me and he goes, that guy's going to do more business than all of you this year. Because I was having a good year, doing it that way.
Yeah. And that's where I learned, and it's thank goodness, because everybody went into lockdown, COVID, everybody got used to Zoom very rapidly. So we learned best practice is just throw the application up on a screen, have a conversation with them, and fill it out correctly with them looking over your shoulder.
And here's why. Here's why I think that's a good idea. One is anytime you're typing someone else's name, email address, and address, there could be a mistake. If they're dictating to you and you're typing what you hear, right, you could have a mistake. It's human error, which just means time. It's not going to probably cost you a ton of money, but the more mistakes you make, the less it feels good to the client. With financial things, when there's mistakes, they feel unsafe. They're like, well, what else is happening? It's like you go into a restaurant and there's a roach, and you're like, well, what's the kitchen like? You know what I mean? It puts things into your mind, right? It creates a story. So if they're watching you type it, and then you're demonstrating your thoroughness, have I typed it properly? Does it look right to you? It's important to get this accurate. That's one thing. We're avoiding mistakes. Two, it's not as boring. Maybe I said there's only two things, but now I'm thinking of three. It's not as boring for them. There's some visual going on, and if you have camera like this, two little cameras, or two little pictures, videos, and then the screen, it's a conversation. It's more enjoyable to see each other than than just on the phone. Now, if they don't want to be seen, just have them watch your screen. That's fine. The other thing though is, nobody likes to not know where they are in a process anymore. I don't know if we've always been like that. I know babies like to be swaddled. They don't like to be held straight out. They're just panicky. They came out of a womb, right? And all of a sudden you're like, skydiving! Like, no, babies don't like skydiving, right? They like snuggling, So I think there are times where I download software or I do something and they don't have that progress bar. And I'm like, you jerk, tell me where I'm at. Is it like going to be a year? Can I even go? What do I do here? I like that 47%, 52%, 87%. And the online applications, the e-applications, if you haven't used them, they're incredible, right? The e-applications now, actually up in the top left or wherever, will say you're 47% done, you're 60% done, you're 87%. And you want to use that, in my opinion, you want to use that. One, point to it. Tell them you can watch this to see how we're doing, the progress. It's, Secondly, you can reference it as you go through. As you can see, we're 87% done. I'm super close. All right. Now, we didn't even talk about this part, but prior to even getting to the application, my personal opinion is you should tell them, hey, throughout the process of gathering your information, I've got a lot of this information. I don't want to make you give me things 2 times. Let me have my team, or let me spend some time ahead of time. Let's set an appointment for when we're going to meet by Zoom and complete the application. Never take an application. Always complete an application. And either you do it if you're a one-person team, or have your assistant do it. Fill in what you have. Like, you can't have a prospect without a name. You got to have their name. You know what I mean? Put their name in there, right? Put their birthday, that you probably needed that to run illustrations or whatever you're doing, right? Whatever information you have. If you did a lot of thorough fact finding, Matter of fact, if you gathered all their financial data up front, you should be able to fill out most of the suitability form, the financial information. I didn't do it because I'm lazy, not because I didn't have it, right? I was mismatched for the work I should have been doing. You know what I mean? I needed to have other people doing it and I didn't. I didn't set up the team. Probably Bobby's good at building teams and delegating, and I'm good at like talking and suck at everything else. You know what I mean? So like I just had a messy business. So tell them I'm going to make it easy on you. Like nobody loves this process. Neither the agent nor you really loves this part of it. So let's make it enjoyable as possible. I'm going to pre-fill as much as I can. So I take up as little of your time as possible. And also, I believe from experience, 2,000 financial plans later, at times people feel a little weird giving away their social security number or giving away information. So I like to use comparison before they have the objection. If you just show up and go, what's your social security number? Where do you live? Tell me everything about you. Show me all your documents. It could feel a little bit weird, but if you say, listen, I don't need much information, but they do need to know it's you when we're talking about your entire life savings. I'm not going to see as much as your tax preparer or your loan officer, but I am going to need like your social security number. Yep. You know what I mean? And a copy of your license for some things. Like if you compare it to something, okay, one of the number one strategies for negotiations is ask for something gigantic and then come back from it. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna put a fence around the entire country, or whatever. Like, oh no, let's do one over here. You know what I mean? Like, or like I want to. Will you take $8 for it? The thing's worth $1,000. Will you take $8? No, but I'll take $800, and then you just save $200, right? If there's something about that comparison, and I'm not a good negotiator, but there's something about comparison that in sales works very well. We talked about it, the art of comparison. So I would say, prior to getting to apps, you tell them, I'm going to do as much as I can up front, make it easy on you. We're going to do it electronically when it's available so that you get signatures through DocuSign, and you just click, right? You can make it fun. You can go, I'm assuming you don't like faxing, printing and writing and faxing while you're trying to live your fun life. And then pre-fill as much as you can. Tell them I don't need very much information, certainly not as much as your CPA. The other people in your life are going to see a lot more than me, but they are going to need to make sure it's you. So you have to tell them social security number, whatever. And then have the progress bar. Point to the progress bar so they know how they're doing in the process. Does that make sense? Now, you and I talked about this. I'm remembering things as we talk. People are different. An engineer is different than a realtor, like personality types. And it's one of the biggest problems. Everybody in my family is a teacher. It's one of the biggest problems with schools is they kind of like are designed for one type of learner, and the rest of us, like creative people that end up wealthy, suck in school. Like we're just sitting quietly and not telling jokes while we try to learn just like by words. It sucks. You know what I mean? So people are different, and you're not a school. You're a human, and you have a human on the other end of the line. So you can actually say to them, we have two different ways. I need information from you. An application is the gathering of information. Would you rather be interviewed? Do you like to have a conversation? Or would you like me to send you something up front that you fill out and it has most of it? What happens is the engineers get all Tim the Tool Man. I love filling things out. They get the detail work. This is not me. Some people doing things that are detailed gets their juices going. They don't want to be talked to. You know what I mean? A CPA, an engineer, like a bean counter introvert. They don't want to have a conversation. Screw you. Get away from me. Let me study. You know what I mean? And when you ask somebody, like you go to get a massage and they say, how much pressure? Do you want like medium, light, medium, or soft, medium, or really deep or whatever? That's a loving question instead of just like dropping an elbow on you WWE style. You know what I mean? Like only if you ask for it. You know what I mean? Like I want you to hurt me. You know what I mean? Can you like get the biggest woman here and jump on my back with both legs? Maybe it's not a woman. Can you find a sumo wrestler and jump on my back, right? Apparently, I only go to the massage places with women.
You go to the intense ones.
Right? Yeah, the intense ones, those like angry Vietnamese women, dropping elbows, right? So asking someone how they like to give information is a compassionate question that's also good for people liking your process. Yeah. And then they send you the form ahead of time. You pre-populate.
Your process should meet all your clients' expectations, right? If they like to fill out forms in advance, that is a very compassionate question to ask instead of putting an introvert on the spot and drilling them with who's your primary care physician, what's their phone number, like all those kind of things that they could easily Google and get ready for you on a form. So some of them will want to do that ahead of time. Some of them won't. Now, just to recap, accurately laying out the process, doing it over Zoom, what Charlie said about comparisons, we're going to want less info than your CPA and all these other things. What I like to tell them is I don't ever want to keep your Social Security on file, so I'm going to put it into a portal with the company you're going to have a relationship with once. I'm not going to ask you for it. We're not going to keep it on record. It's going to go in once. We're going to verify it's you, and that's it. So that's me letting them know I'm not keeping records. This is just for them. And that's part of our process. Now, speaking directly to the people with teams, one of the things that Charlie had mentioned, I like to grow teams. One of the things in our perception management department, which is what we call this, what I have found a great way to train people is to have both me and the client along with the support person on the Zoom call. So the support person will drive, they'll ask questions, they'll navigate with the client. If they're having issues, immediately I'm jumping in, I'm making it fun. I'm talking about, oh, the status bar's here, we're doing great. Only a few more of these tooth pulling exercises, like, you know, oh, I can't believe you have all boys, you couldn't get a girl, or, you know, like just having fun with them, right?
Exactly.
And then, you know,
exactly.
I think one of your favorites is, you know, here's the 3 beneficiaries. Is there a 4th maybe child you don't like as much you want to put on there?
Right. Exactly.
Just kind of
Exactly.
making it a fun adventure while the same time you're training a staff member. So you record the call, you have it for training later with your staff. It helps you ramp up while maximizing the owner, us, and maximizing our time. That way I'm not training every single person the same way. They have one video to watch, and I don't have to be on every single call. So that's one way that you can make the experience fun for the client while simultaneously training your staff to do it the way you want as an agency owner. So that's a big win that we have discovered. Go ahead, Charlie.
No, I was just going to say, like, and building rapport. I know people that lie to do it. There's actually an agent that I know in the country that no matter what college somebody went to, he memorized all the colleges and their mascots, and he says, I went there too. Oh, well, go Huskies. You know, like, what the, that's stupid, you know, building rapport by lying. But look at what's behind them in their Zoom meeting, if it's not blurred or something they're wearing. And if it's true for you at some point during the application, just be like, I just noticed your necklace. It's awesome. Like, what is that? You know what I mean? It's like, get them, say something true. Compliment them. People love compliments. It's in the book Influence by Robert Cialdini, I think. You compliment people when it's true. It's not a tool to use to do harm or to be deceptive. It's something to use to do good and to not forget to do. As a matter of fact, if you're in a relationship or married, good Lord, try to find ways to make to say you're beautiful right now. You know what I mean? Like we're in year 5 and I'd forgotten that your eyes are magical. You know what I mean? Like your eyes are like the ocean. Like I can't even believe I get to look at you every day. I am talking about you.
No, and it's and honestly, like I had a sales manager tell me the same thing. If you can't honestly give a client or a prospect a compliment, there's something wrong with you. Like we've said this throughout this entire series is everyone needs an ethical person with sales skills in their life. All this is how to navigate and do right by the client in the best way and give them the best experience possible. So these are our best takeaways. Use Zoom, gather information, make it as seamless as possible, fit it to the client. If they're an engineer, give them a form ahead of time. Give them the questions you're going to want answers to so they come prepared. If they're an extrovert, maybe they just want to be interviewed, right? Have the wife there because she's probably got the answers anyway, and especially about health stuff, and work through that with whatever they need. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about how to excel during the underwriting process, because that's where all your competition drops the ball. And we set the expectation at the end of the applications. We say, here's what the next steps look like. It's unpleasant,
Right.
but we are going to be with you there the entire step of the way. We're going to set the expectation based on what they want. If they want to be communicated to every single day, we do it. Even if it's, hey, I got nothing to report today, or if they're okay with weekly or whatever they want, right? If they want smoke signals, we're going to figure out how to do it. And so it's very easy to differentiate yourself from the competition in this phase. And this is the phase that nobody likes, but will get you the most referrals.
Exactly. Exactly. Their reticular activator, their brain they will never notice people that need you more than during apps and underwriting. And when it closes and they just own an annuity or life insurance and go back to their life, their brain is not going to be telling them same. It's not open to that. It's designed to keep unuseful crap out of its way, right?
Absolutely.
This is the time. This is the during unit that Joe Stumpf talks about, before, during, and after. And this is where you get, hopefully, referrals from 50% of them.
Easily. And our ratios are much higher than 50% because we focus on this area that both Charlie and I suck at. So we have built a system around helping supplement our own skills. So, all right, next episode, we're going to talk through some of those wins as well. But again, I'm Bobby Alford. This is Charlie Jewett. This is Target Practice, and we will, I'm sorry. This is Charlie.
Charlie, do it.
Charlie,
do it, Charlie.
And this is Target Practice Podcast. We can edit that out later. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to the Target Practice Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have time, please subscribe to the podcast and consider rating and reviewing the show. We'd sure appreciate it. And for show notes, resources, and to connect, shoot on over to targetpracticepodcast.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Target Practice Podcast.